So you want to buy an enclosed trailer for your Restomod, but there are so many choices. How do you make an informed decision while making sure all your requirements are met and you don't waste a ton of money in the process? In this video, I'm going to go over that and a whole lot more. Hey, what's up everyone? This is Brooke with Restomod Academy, where we help you with your ownership and maintaining of a Restomod. On this channel, we do product reviews, how-to guides, and we answer common questions around Restomod ownership, like this one where we talk about how to pick out an enclosed trailer for your Restomod. If you're new here, consider subscribing. We work very hard to put together meaningful, useful information to, again, help you enjoy the Restomod ownership experience. Before I forget, I have to plug this video. If you type into your browser how to buy an enclosed trailer for a Restomod, you will see that we have the snippet, or the #1 search result, as well as the #2 position in Google on that term. So I'm very proud of that. And it means all the hard work that went into this video and this article paid off. So it's a fairly long video, but stick with it. Apparently it's got some good information and I hope it'll be of use to you. All right, so let's get into this video. This took a lot of effort. It took a lot of time, and it's a very exhaustive, comprehensive guide for an enclosed trailer for your Restomod. To simplify this, I've broken it up into 4 sections, and in the notes below, I've put a timeline around that. So there are really 4 main sections. The first is, do you want to buy new versus used? Then we have 7 considerations for your enclosed trailer. We'll talk about a 4-step process to finance your trailer. And then ultimately, we're going to close with 6 tips to help you maintain your trailer. All right, so section 1, as we talked about earlier, is going to be, should you buy a new or a used trailer? And there are pros and cons of each. With a new trailer, obviously you have a warranty. You also know the history of the trailer in terms of how has it been treated, maintained, all those types of things. And then you have the ability to customize it to be exactly what you would like it to be. So those are all the benefits of a new trailer. I think the con of buying a new trailer, there's really only 2 I can think of. One is actually the sales process. I don't know if you know this, but the majority of trailers, when they're listed for sale new, are at a bare bone price. They come with no frills, and so the upgrades are part of the experience. What I mean by that is, it's not unusual to pay 40 to 50% more for a trailer once you get through the sales process. Some people actually call this a bait and switch. No, I don't think that's true. I wouldn't go that far. The bottom line is, there's no question, when you buy a new trailer, get ready for some sticker shock relative to what you thought the price was gonna be when it's all said and done. For a used enclosed trailer, there's obviously buying power. That's one of the biggest and best benefits. There is a ton of product available. Some disadvantages are kind of the opposite of new, right? You don't have any sort of a warranty, and you also don't know how it was maintained. So, those would be the pros and cons of buying new versus used. I always kind of let the deal determine what I buy. I bought new and I bought used, and there's pros and cons of each. But ultimately, I want to feel good about the deal that I got, and that's usually how I make my decision. How you'll make your decision is up to you, but I guess there's a couple of things to keep in mind. All right, so section 2. Now we're going to talk about what considerations do you have when purchasing a trailer. Whether it's new or used, it doesn't really matter, right? So the length of the trailer will be an issue. The suspension, the brakes. Do you want a steel versus aluminum frame? Do you want a steel versus a composite enclosure? What tie-down system will you use? And lastly, what kinds of wheels and tires? So let's start with it. So from the trailer perspective, the size of your car and length are going to be one of the most obvious things to think about. A couple other things that you want to keep in mind is, how much gear do you bring with you to and from car shows and wherever it is you might go and be hauling your Restomod. And so the maximum overall length will be something to think about. There are state laws around trailer lengths and things like that. So make sure you know what the length requirements are in your state. And there's a link below where you can click on that and you can check out your state and the maximum trailer length and laws around that in the notes section below. And then one of my favorite topics is to talk about here, and it's really often forgot about, is carrying capacity. I think back to our days with our young family when we bought a camper and it had a bunk room in it. And so the idea is you want to make sure that the truck can tow the camper. When the camper is empty, you don't think about when you put water in it, the dishes, the pots, pans, the clothes, the bikes you want to throw into your camper so you can, all the extra things. And that's just like with an enclosed trailer. It's exactly that way. So your carrying capacity is a big deal. The next area is a suspension, and there are really 3 primary primary types of suspension on an enclosed trailer. The first is leaf springs, which would be more of the dinosaur of the bunch. They have the most moving parts. They're the oldest. Just avoid leaf springs altogether if you can. Torsion suspension is another suspension type for your enclosed trailer, and it sounds really fancy. It's really just it's just a bar encased in rubber, and it's within the axle. And it is a very smooth, safe, reliable suspension for an enclosed trailer. So there's no issue with that at all. In fact, those are probably the most common, and they're fine. The last and the latest and greatest would be air ride. These are kind of all the rage. An air ride suspension is basically, an airbag connected to a valve, and it aids your suspension. It's certainly the best and fanciest and latest and greatest. It's also the most expensive. And so, there again, that might be a scenario where when you buy used, you might be able to get an air ride suspension because of the buying power you have relative to buying new with an air ride suspension. It may be cost prohibitive for some of you. But from a brake perspective on enclosed trailer, there's really two different types of braking systems. The hydraulic surge brakes, that would be a system where there is not a controller in the tow vehicle. And so they're pretty simple, right? From that perspective. The only disadvantage of that system would be the only way to brake your trailer is when you apply the brake in your car, and so you're relying on that to start the braking process. And the most popular is going to be an electric drum system. An electric drum system has a controller in the truck. It communicates back to the trailer, and when you step on the brake pedal, that sends a signal to the trailer to also brake. And so that's a little bit more reliable system. It gives you a little bit of extra braking power. The good thing around braking systems now for enclosed trailer are that disc brakes are now available for enclosed trailers, which is a real nice safety benefit. Okay, section 4, steel versus aluminum frame. So, steel frames kind of have a bad rap. They have a bad rap because they're corrosive in nature. And a lot of manufacturers, as we said earlier, kind of cut corners, and so they have not coated a lot of steel frames properly, so over time those steel frames will rust. Okay, every Restomod owner will tell you to buy an aluminum frame. The reasons are vast. Number one, they're not very heavy, and they don't corrode, which is also great. They're easier to sell on the open market because they're more desirable. A recent caveat would be you can get like an aircraft grade aluminum, which won't crack. So topic number 5 is, do you want an aluminum versus a composite enclosure? Most enclosed trailers, when you buy them, the interior is just a shell and the exterior is just wrapped in aluminum. And that's, again, a base model that you will start out with. And the disadvantage of an aluminum enclosure would be a couple. One, they're kind of unsightly. There's joints in them, divots, there's waves from the panels. They just look a little unsightly. The interior doesn't match the exterior. So if you're showing up to a car show and, some people probably wouldn't want to show up in an aluminum trailer. The other thing, the only real disadvantage I think of an aluminum trailer is just going to be the fact that it doesn't really do a good job protecting your Restomod from the elements. It traps the heat inside. It also traps the cold inside. There's just no real insulation. So the other option would be the composite enclosure, which is probably more of the rage lately. They're certainly more popular. Think of a fancy motor coach. That's kind of what a composite enclosed trailer looks like. There's no divots, there's no seams. It's just one composite piece. The interior looks equally as good as the exterior, and it just looks well put together, and there's probably some pride of ownership that goes along with those two different types of trailers. Either one will work. One is just going to be a little fancier than the other is all. All right, the 6th consideration is going to be your tie-down system. So a traditional system has been a D-ring. Think of a big trailer, and in the 4 corners of the trailer, you have a D-ring, and then you have these really long straps that help you secure your Restomod. There is a newer trend called a VersaTrack. A VersaTrack system is basically rails installed into the bed of the trailer, and then you can move the D-ring placements to the different settings that you might want if you're hauling different vehicles and things like that. I have a lot of thoughts on this from practical experience. Just customize it. Just customize it to your vehicle. And so what you can do is if you're buying new, for example, it probably won't cost you anything. You can negotiate this in. Have them install the VersaTrack for your specific vehicle, and then you can avoid tying it down completely, and you can just use tie downs around the wheels. So that way you're not scratching the car whatsoever. Most of these Restomods have a frame off restoration. You don't want to scratch the frame and all that kind of stuff and mess around with loops and blah, 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 right? 7th consideration for your trailer is going to be the wheels and the tires. So one of the first things to know is your tires have a load rating. So you want to make sure your tires can support the load that you're carrying. All enclosed trailers will have an ST designation on their tires, and that just simply means it is designed for a trailer. On the other hand, if you're gonna buy used and it has bad tires, just tell them you need to negotiate the cost of new tires into your deal, all right? Most wheels are just metal and they're painted. If you find a set of wheels that aren't metal, I guess I'd be concerned, but otherwise there's not a lot of stuff to think about with wheels. And the last thing would be radial versus a ply tire. You know, ply tires, basically, the more plies you have, the better off the tire is. But most tires nowadays are radial, and you really want to buy radial tires. If I bought a trailer with ply tires, I would just put radials on. All right, the 8th consideration, I think I said 7, but I actually have an extra credit consideration, I suppose, is getting your vehicle, actually your vehicle and your body, in and out of the trailer. So if your Restomod is low, a lot of Restomods nowadays have a low stance, or it's airbagged and it's really low. You can have a problem getting your Restomod in and out of the trailer. One consideration would be if it's dovetailed in the back. It's just a gradual slope that helps deal with a Restomod that's a little bit low. Now, a practical piece of advice is getting you yourself in and out of the vehicle. The last thing you want to do is be in a hurry, open up your door, bam, you hit the side of the trailer. A pretty popular trend with enclosed trailers would be a left door or a middle door on the enclosed trailer. I highly recommend that. From a practicality perspective, one of the best pieces of advice I will give you is, if you can afford it, it's a great thing to have. Highly recommended. A lot of people don't talk about it until you buy one, and then you buy one and you see your friend has that, you're like, man, I wished I would have done that. So if you watch this video, and you can make an informed decision. We've taken you from should you buy new or used. We've given you 8 considerations of what to look for in an enclosed trailer. And now we're on to you found one that you want to buy. So how do you do that? It's pretty straightforward, actually. It's really painless. If you're at a dealership, you simply fill out the credit application. You can select your finance terms. Usually you'll get a little bit lower of an interest rate if you have a shorter term. The interest rate goes up a little bit with a longer term. You can digitally sign the documents, e-sign the document, and then you get an instant approval, typically within 10 to 30 minutes, and you can take your trailer home. Okay, once you've determined to buy new or used, you've made the 8 considerations, or you've went through the 8 considerations that we've given you. You've chosen how to finance your trailer if you did. And now, how do you maintain it? So here are 6 easy maintenance tips that if you follow will make your Restomod hauling experiences much more enjoyable than being on the side of the road in the middle of the summer with your Restomod. So the first thing is your tire pressure. I would say, just make sure your tire pressure is somewhere between 30 to 40 pounds of pressure. Your tires will say exactly what they should be, but that's a good rule of thumb. The next thing will be lighting. Make sure the lighting works inside of your trailer, and of course exteriorly, all your lights, turn signals, brake lights, everything else. Your bearings need to be lubed around every 12,000 miles. You should tighten your lug nuts every 1,000 miles, I would say, maybe 1,500 at the very most. Check the condition of your safety chains, make sure there's no issues there. And then just make sure to walk around your trailer. I hope that you found this guide to buying an enclosed trailer useful. I know we covered an awful lot of ground, a lot of areas, but my goal for this was to provide you with a video that helps you make an informed decision so you spend your money wisely and you enjoy your Restomod ownership as best you can. If you liked the video, please hit subscribe and click on the bell to be alerted of all new videos that we post. So with you subscribing to this channel, that would be a great testament that my hard work is paying off, and a vote of confidence from you, which I would appreciate. So until next time, enjoy your Restomod.